Story 1. He was hiding in the lake. This is the story of why I'm never going camping again, and why you shouldn't either. I still have nightmares about that face in the lake. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden glow over the forest, my group of friends and I, Charlie, Lucas, and Emma, were brimming with excitement as we embarked on our long-awaited camping trip. The anticipation of adventure and camaraderie filled the air as we hiked through the wilderness, our backpacks laden with supplies and hearts filled with joy. After an hour of traversing through the dense foliage, we stumbled upon a hidden gem, a picturesque lake nestled amidst the towering trees. The sight before us took our breath away, and without a second thought, we decided this was the perfect spot to set up camp for the weekend. Under the canopy of stars, we pitched our tents and gathered around the campfire. Laughter and banter echoed through the woods as we shared stories and indulged in marshmallow roasting. It felt like we were in our own little world, far away from the troubles of everyday life. As the night wore on, the warmth of the campfire provided comfort, but there was a lingering feeling of something amiss. I tried to shake it off, attributing it to the eerie ambiance that nighttime in the wilderness can sometimes bring. Yet, the unease persisted, and as I dipped my toes into the lake to cool off, an unexpected smell assaulted my senses. It was foul, and I couldn't quite put my finger on its origin, but I dismissed it, thinking it must be some natural occurrence in this secluded paradise. However, the sense of disquietude only grew stronger when I heard an odd noise emanating from my left. My curiosity piqued. I cautiously investigated the source but found nothing unusual. In an attempt not to alarm my friends, I decided to keep the oddity to myself. As midnight approached, we decided it was time to retreat to our tents and surrender to the embrace of sleep. I crawled into my cozy cocoon, hoping the tranquility of the surroundings would lull me into a peaceful slumber. But as the night wore on, every rustle of leaves, every whisper of the wind seemed amplified, preventing me from slipping into a restful state. At the stroke of 3 a.m., I was jolted awake by a shadowy figure silhouetted against the glow of the campfire. I assumed it must be one of my friends, unable to sleep as well, so I bravely ventured outside my tent to join them. To my bewilderment, there was no one there. My heart pounded in my chest, and a chill ran down my spine. Confusion and fear coiled within me as I tried to comprehend what had just occurred. It was as if the forest itself was playing tricks on me, messing with my sense of reality. Then a sudden splash broke the silence coming from the lake. The hairs on my neck stood on end, and a shiver of trepidation shot down my spine. Fear now coursed through my veins, but I resisted the urge to flee back to my tent. Summoning my courage, I reached for my flashlight and crept down to the water's edge. The night was draped in darkness, and I scanned the area with my beam of light. My heart pounded loudly in my ears, drowning out every other sound. And then, I saw it. In the left corner of the lake, the light revealed a face, a ghastly visage adorned with a sinister grin. My blood turned to ice, and I could feel a scream building up in my throat. But before it could escape, I turned and sprinted back to my friends, terror urging me on. Upon returning to the safety of the campsite, I relayed what I had seen to my friends, and their expressions turned from amusement to concern. Although skeptical at first, my own sheer panic and distress convinced them that something was seriously wrong. In a frantic frenzy, we packed up our gear and fled the lake, never once looking back. Panic-induced adrenaline propelled us forward, our only desire to escape the darkness that had descended upon us. As we finally reached the safety of our car, we managed to contact the police. We conveyed every chilling detail, but even as we did so, The surrealism of the situation lingered. How could something so sinister happen in such a serene setting? The police acted swiftly, and a search party was dispatched to the lake. It was as if the forest itself held its breath in anticipation of what would be uncovered. Yet, as the investigation unfolded, it yielded only unsettling clues. Bloodstains on leaves and traces in the water, but no concrete answers. DNA testing confirmed that the blood belonged to a woman, but the figure I saw in the lake was undoubtedly a male. In the weeks that followed, news spread like wildfire. The police had uncovered a trail of disappearances and unsolved cases spanning several years. Speculation circulated, and rumors painted the lake as a cursed place, haunted by the souls of those who had vanished without a trace. Story 2. The Woods Massacre. My name is Joseph, and I'm a 21-year-old who loves the outdoors. I'm an avid hiker and camper, so when my friend suggested a camping trip for the weekend, I was thrilled. We were all excited about the prospect of a peaceful getaway, but little did we know that our adventure would be anything but tranquil. As we arrived at the chosen spot near the serene river, the golden hues of the setting sun painted the landscape in a mesmerizing glow. We started setting up camp, laughter and excitement filling the air. However, that joy was short-lived when a peculiar event unfolded. Amidst the rustling leaves and gentle breeze, a branch snapped somewhere in the dense woods surrounding us. The sudden sound caught our attention, and a strange sensation washed over us. We exchanged uneasy glances, acknowledging that it felt as if something was lurking in the shadows, observing our every move. Attempting to brush off the unease, we continued with the preparations. As we gathered around the campfire, our faces illuminated by its warm glow, we heard another strange sound. This time, a loud thump coming from just outside our tent. We instinctively grabbed our flashlights and cautiously stepped outside, only to catch a fleeting glimpse of a figure darting away into the dark night. Fear began to creep into our hearts, and the once exciting camping trip was now clouded with uncertainty. Retreating back into the safety of our tent, we huddled together, trying to rationalize what was happening around us. Yet the unsettling noises persisted throughout the night, with occasional loud screams echoing through the wilderness. We could neither fathom the source nor muster the courage to investigate further. Instead, we clung to each other, seeking solace in our shared fear. As morning dawned, we decided to cut our camping trip short and head home. The unnerving events of the previous night were still fresh in our minds, but little did we know that the horrors had only just begun. While driving back, we came across an old man whose car was stranded in the middle of the road. His face was contorted with terror, and he spoke of a chilling encounter in the very same woods we had camped in. The old man recounted seeing a large, shadowy figure lurking amidst the trees. Its gaze fixated on him with malevolence. Filled with dread, he had fled the area as quickly as he could, leaving behind his peaceful camping spot turned into a haunting realm of fear. The uneasy glances we exchanged told us that we couldn't dismiss his words as mere coincidence. Our hearts pounded with trepidation as we quickly packed up our belongings, eager to leave that ominous place behind. The unsettling encounter with the old man left us unsettled and haunted by an inexplicable sense of danger. In the days that followed, chilling news emerged, painting a grim picture of the dark forces lurking in the woods we had once hoped to find solace in. The police discovered the lifeless bodies of a family, a couple and their 2 young children, near the very location we had camped in. The realization struck us with terror. Our camping trip had unknowingly intertwined with a heinous crime scene. It became evident that the ominous figure glimpsed by the old man was none other than the merciless killer responsible for these tragic murders. Our hearts sank and we felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude that we had escaped with our lives. The horror of what we had unknowingly encountered haunted our thoughts, and the screams of terror we heard that night lingered in our minds like a relentless echo.
Story 3. Something took my boyfriend. My name is Jessica, and I couldn't have been more excited about the camping trip with my boyfriend Leo. The beautiful wilderness, the crackling campfire, and the starry night sky all promised a romantic and memorable weekend. Little did I know that this adventure would quickly turn into a terrifying nightmare. As the sun set on the horizon, Leo and I sat by the campfire, wrapped in each other's warmth. The woods around us were alive with the sounds of nature, and we laughed and shared stories late into the night. However, amidst our laughter and joy, I caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye, a fleeting shadow darting behind a tree. "Leo, did you see that?" I asked, my heart skipping a beat. Leo turned to look in the direction I pointed, his face serene. "Oh, it's probably just a fox or some small critter," he reassured me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. My instincts told me there was more to it than just a curious fox. I suggested we call it a night and head to the tent, but Leo was enamored by the beauty of the night sky. He insisted on staying by the campfire to stargaze for a while longer. Reluctantly, I made my way to the tent, zipping it up tightly to keep pesky mosquitoes at bay. I lay there for what felt like an eternity, unable to shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at the back of my mind. My anxiety reached its peak when I realized that Leo hadn't returned to the tent. I checked my phone. It was 2 a.m. Leo was still not beside me. Trying to convince myself that he had simply gone out to relieve himself, I closed my eyes, hoping to find solace in sleep. But then, a noise jolted me awake. My heart pounded in my chest, and I couldn't ignore the growing sense of dread. "Leo, is that you?" I called out, trying to steady my voice. The footsteps outside ceased immediately, plunging the surroundings into an eerie silence. Fear began to overtake my senses, but I reasoned that Leo must be responsible for the noise, that there was a logical explanation. Yet, as time passed, and he failed to return, panic set in. Outside the tent, a dark silhouette emerged, standing motionless. I could feel its gaze on me, penetrating through the thin fabric of the tent. Frozen in terror, I mustered the courage to unzip the tent and flee from whatever lurked beyond. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I ran as fast as my legs would carry me, not daring to look back. My only thought was to reach help, to escape the sinister presence that had invaded our peaceful retreat. Finally, I reached a road, and with trembling hands, I dialed 911, desperately pleading for assistance. The dispatcher reassured me that help was on the way, and I clung to that promise like a lifeline. The police arrived, and I frantically recounted the horrifying events of the night. Together, we returned to the campsite, and I called out for Leo, praying for a response. But there was silence. No trace of him anywhere. That's when they discovered footprints leading into the dense woods. The police followed the trail with determination, and soon they found him. Leo, lying on the ground shirtless. Alive but seemingly unaware of what had transpired. With great urgency, they rushed him to the hospital, hoping to find answers and provide him with the medical care he needed. But the mystery only deepened as he regained consciousness. When Leo woke up, he appeared disoriented and confused, unable to recall any details of our camping trip. He didn't remember anything about the shadows, the eerie noises, or even our arrival at the campsite. The police scoured the woods for any evidence that could lead them to the person responsible for the night's horrors, but there were no signs of anyone else being there. The entire ordeal remained shrouded in an enigmatic fog, leaving us with more questions than answers. To this day, the chilling memories of that camping trip haunt me, The sense of danger that lurked just beyond our campfire still sends shivers down my spine. The fear and the unknown have left a lasting impact on both of us. A reminder that even amidst the beauty of nature, darkness can creep in without warning.
Story 4. Vanish without a trace. My name is Alex, and I want to tell you about a camping trip that changed my life and the lives of my 4 closest friends forever. It was supposed to be a fun-filled weekend filled with laughter and adventure, but instead it turned into a chilling tale of mystery and loss. My friends and I, Ben, Sarah, Emma, and Mark, decided to go on a camping trip deep into the heart of a remote forest. We were all eager to escape the hustle and bustle of city life and immerse ourselves in the tranquility of nature. Little did we know that our desire for adventure would lead us down a dark and eerie path. We arrived at the campsite, a picturesque clearing surrounded by ancient trees. The sun was still high in the sky, casting a warm glow over our surroundings. We set up our tents, laughing and joking as we worked together, excited for the weekend ahead. As the evening descended upon us, we gathered around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories from our past. The atmosphere was electric with camaraderie and friendship. We marveled at the beauty of the night sky, the stars twinkling like diamonds. But as the night wore on, a strange unease settled over us. There was something eerie about the silence that enveloped the woods. The usual sounds of nocturnal creatures seemed absent, replaced by an unsettling quiet. As we huddled around the dying campfire, Sarah suddenly exclaimed, "Did you guys hear that?" We all fell silent, straining our ears to listen. A faint rustling sound echoed in the distance, sending shivers down our spines. "It's probably just an animal," Ben said, trying to quell our growing unease. Despite his words, the atmosphere felt charged with tension. We decided it was best to turn in for the night, hoping that a good night's sleep would alleviate our unease. Inside my tent, I lay awake, my mind restless. The night was heavy with an inexplicable sense of foreboding. I wasn't the only one feeling it. I could hear the rustling of sleeping bags and the soft murmurs of my friends nearby. Suddenly, a low moan pierced the stillness, chilling me to the bone. It sounded like a distant cry for help, but I couldn't be sure. "Did anyone else hear that?" I whispered, my heart pounding in my chest. There was a collective silence, and then Emma's voice came from the darkness. I thought I heard something too. Fear gripped us as we listened intently for any other sounds. But the forest seemed to hold its breath, concealing whatever secrets it held within its depths. Unable to ignore our growing fear, Mark suggested that we search the area in the morning. We tried to convince ourselves that it was merely an animal or some trick of the wind. But the unease lingered like a ghostly presence. The morning light filtered through the dense foliage, awakening me with a sense of excitement for the day ahead. As I unzipped my tent, I noticed that Ben's tent was still closed. It struck me as odd since he was usually an early riser. I called out to him, "Hey Ben, time to wake up." But there was no response. I walked over to his tent and found it empty. My heart started pounding in my chest as I checked the other tents. There was no sign of Ben anywhere. Panic started to rise within me, and I quickly woke up the others, explaining that Ben was missing. We frantically searched the campsite and the surrounding area, calling his name over and over again. But he was nowhere to be found. As fear and uncertainty gripped us, we decided to call the police for help. They arrived at the campsite and conducted a thorough search of the forest, but they found no trace of Ben or any other person who might have been there. The days turned into weeks, and despite numerous search efforts, there was no sign of our missing friend. The forest seemed to hold its secrets close. refusing to reveal the truth behind Ben's disappearance. We were left with more questions than answers. How could someone vanish without a trace in the middle of the woods? What had happened to our dear friend? As the months passed, we struggled to come to terms with the loss and the unsettling mystery that surrounded it. Our once tight-knit group started to drift apart, each of us haunted by the memories of that fateful camping trip. Thanks for watching the Haunted Sketchbook. Be sure to check out any of the videos on screen right now if you're planning on not sleeping tonight.